iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. To show the love.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and it's time to get wealthy. You're going to learn exactly what you need to know and do to finally achieve the level of financial success you desire and you deserve. Well, the stock market has been pretty volatile. The economy, it has a lot of uncertainty in it. Inflation is rising. What does that mean for recent graduates? How will they fare in their careers entering this market? Well, here's what college grads need to know that they often don't. And that is that a college degree is a milestone, not a destination. It can open doors, but your behavior can close them. And then finally, a college degree does not guarantee a 6-figure income. And that's exactly the conversation that we're going to have today with Leilani Brown. She is an award-winning marketing executive, and she's written a book, updated a book, and now it's called From Campus to Career. And she's helping college students, college grads know exactly what they need to do to navigate in this financial uncertainty. So welcome to the program, Leilani.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. On Wealthy You, we have a framework, and it's called Mindset, Strategy, and Execution, and it's the framework for success. So I really think that our conversation is going to be important for graduates in particular. College students, not even graduates, so they get some insight on what they need to do. And so I want to start with mindset. And one of the, you have several tips in your book, but just broadly, what kind of mindset do college students who are going to be entering this economic, their careers with economic uncertainty, what kind of mindset do they need to bring to the table?
Well, thank you for that question, and thanks for having me. So I'm so excited about this conversation with you. There is good news out there, by the way. So there's 31% of employers say that they are increasing hiring in this year for this class of 2022. So that's actually really, really good news. With respect to mindset, I think they should have an optimistic and hopeful and excited mindset. One of enthusiasm as they pursue something new, but also be mindful of developing relationships and be very intentional about how they show up and the ways in which they are perceived in the workplace.
Perception is important. One of the things I want to really make sure we delve into deeply in this conversation is the fact that the kind of workplace that prior to COVID, many were entering, it's different. And one of the things you talk about is this hybrid environment that college students are going to have to learn how to navigate to not only stay, to actually get a job. And so I want to talk about that. What kind of mindset do you have to have when now you could be in a virtual workplace or a hybrid workplace where you are going into work and at home?
Well, I think that that's a good question. The reason why I updated the book and didn't scrap it is because the information in the first edition was evergreen. Things like appropriate use of social media, taking a pause, developing good relationships, or even starting the book with learn the business and work hard and deliver results. Those are the tips that that I'm offering in the book. But what's been updated is the very intentionality that we have to have in a hybrid or remote workplace. Going back to your point around perception being reality, I'll give you one example. So a lot of us like to take notes on our phone. I like to take notes on my phone, and I might turn to my phone to take a note during a meeting. But the perception might be that I'm distracted, not paying attention, or even checking social media, even if I'm taking a note. And that one little nuance can mean a lot in the career of a person and how they are perceived, and also how they are perceived in the beginning of their career. So it's really, really important to think about how we are perceived, and also controlling what we can control, even in hybrid or remote workplaces. That's one little nuance.
Well, that's good advice for all of us, really, because I know I have a habit of taking notes on my phone, and I use the notes app, and that's where I capture a lot of insights when I know if I don't put it down right away, I'm going to forget. And then I want to talk
to that point, Deb. I would just say to a young person, or even a more mature person like you and I, to say, do you mind? I'm using my phone to take some notes. Do you mind? That one little step can go a long way in terms of improving the perception of your performance and your accessibility and your engagement, as well as communicating and developing the relationship.
Great advice. Asking permission and giving people some insight into what you're actually doing is always a good thing. Now, the other thing I want to talk about from the mindset of a parent, right? Because that's who a lot of our audience members are going to be, parents of college graduates, potential college graduates who want their kids to do well. And one of the trends that we've seen is that many children, adults, are graduating, and yet they are staying in their parents' home a lot longer. Could be have a lot of student loan debt, or it could be challenging finding that first job. And so to that end, I want to ask you about the mindset of a parent so that they're not an enabler. What can they do to support their graduate in, finding that first opportunity without, what do I want to say, in a manner that allows them to take ownership?
Absolutely. Well, I think that, some of us, I'm a parent too. I have a college-aged child. He's in college now. And one of the things that I often think that I am always trying to calibrate is, how do I teach him the value of money? How do I teach him the value of the value of consequences, or reality of consequences, and connecting those actions, et cetera. I think the mindset of a parent should be future focused. What do you want the outcome to be? So now that they've graduated and they may be living at home, but you actually want to facilitate a process, an environment, create an environment where they're looking ahead towards self-sustaining and personal responsibility and taking care of themselves. So encourage them to look for a job, pursue and take a job, not quit a job just because you don't like it, because there are many of us who are in jobs that we don't prefer or like. And I'm not talking about blatant disrespect, but just not what we want to do.
Leilani, we've talked about the mindset of our students, but I want to talk about the mindset of parents, because those are the people who are probably watching this program. And what we've seen is far too many students are staying at home a lot longer. So to that end, what do parents what kind of mindset do they need to have to be a mentor and not an enabler?
Absolutely. So I think we have to be really realistic. So it's different than when I graduated from college years ago. I went home, and you can never really go home again. But I went home for 2 years, and then I got my first apartment, and it was an interesting experience in growing up. I think parents should be realistic about how challenging it is out there. Things are infinitely more expensive. Unfortunately, the markets are indicating that we might be going through a bit of a recession. It's going to be difficult, but they can stay home or be home for a period of time. And I would actually encourage that. And I think you might too, so that people can have a running start and pay off debt and not accumulate debt. At the same time, they should be very intentional and outcome oriented. If the point is for your graduating senior, your class of 22 person, or eventually to move out and be self-sustaining and self-supporting, be supportive, not an enabler. So that means that they should get the job on their own, they should keep the job on their own, and they shouldn't quit the job if they just simply don't like it. You know, you have to put in that sacrifice. I also think that it's important for parents to either charge something. My mother used to call it a maintenance fee. She wouldn't dare call it rent. She said it doesn't drop anything in the bucket, but it's the service and the charge for living here. And really connect that there is a cost to living the lifestyle that you intend to live. On another note, she was holding that maintenance fee and she gave it to me as I moved out.
Well, it's interesting you said that, because I really do feel that parents can make it a little too comfortable, and then they wonder why their kids are gainfully employed, but they haven't moved out. Well, why would they if
Right.
they basically, have all of the comforts of home without the responsibility? And so I'm so glad you double clicked on the fact that children, particularly if they are working, should pay some kind of stipend. I love the way your mother put it, a maintenance fee, because I think that's exactly what it is. And the fact that parents, you could take that rent and you could use it as when they do move out, or buy a home or something, that could be a pot of money that you kind of a forced saving plan that I think is important. So thank you so much for
And Brenda
touching
was
on
serious
that.
she was serious about that payment. It better not be late, and it had to be paid first.
On the first of the month. But again, I really feel like you want to set your children up for success. And so to that end, you want them to know experience a little of what the real world is going to be like, but also having that safety net of being at home. So great advice. Folks, when we come back, we're going to talk about strategy. So we're going to learn what your graduate needs to know and do so that they can find that next opportunity, become gainfully employed, and be on the road to financial success.
Let's be honest, as successful women, we're crushing it. Maxed out 401k and Roth IRA? Check. Aggressive savings and investments? Check. Yet, the freedom our success was supposed to buy can leave us stuck on the six-figure hamster wheel, watching retirement slip further down the road. There's another way. Get coaching courses and community at wealthyu.com.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built in.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years. I thought new phones were for new customers. We got iPhone 13s too, switched to Verizon 2 minutes ago.
Ours were busted, and we still got a shiny new one.
Check it out. So wait, everybody gets the same great deal.
I think that's the point.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. On any unlimited plan, starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and it's Get Wealthy, and we're talking about how our college graduates can get wealthy and they can get on the pathway to wealth with our guest, Leilani Brown. She is the author of From Campus to Career. And now we want to talk, Leilani, about what are the strategies that these graduates need to have so that they can catapult into a career as opposed to struggle in finding one?
Absolutely. So I think one of the first things that a graduate can do that serves them well is learning how to tell their story. And there are two components to telling the story. One, it's answering the question, so tell me about yourself, and developing that elevator speech about who they are, what they do, or what special value that they bring to an employer or to a workplace or to the world. And I think the second part of it, and it's related, is coming up with a resume, a digital resume, whether it be on LinkedIn or another career platform. I would say go to many of them. Don't be on one platform, but be on multiple if they exist for you. But really creating a digital footprint, a digital resume or summary of your skills and your experiences, even if those experiences haven't been employment experiences, even volunteer experiences on a college campus or through your fraternity or sorority could be valuable. So learn how to articulate that on paper as well. So the elevator speech, or basically the answer to the most often asked interview question, so tell me about yourself, and having a strong digital version of your resume that is turnkey. You want to be able to give that, and this is the third tip, give that resume to someone who can make an introduction, broker an introduction, offer you an opportunity, or ultimately to employers. So those are the three things: elevator speech, really solid articulation in a resume or a LinkedIn profile about who you are and what you do, and then making sure that both of those things are ready and they're turnkey. So when the opportunities come, you're ready.
Well, it's interesting that you talked about making it a turnkey, but I also believe in reading your book and the tips, and it's an easy read, by the way, folks. It's all actionable. It's a tip, and then there are things that you can do. And I love execution because that's our next step. Nothing happens if you don't do anything. And you brought up LinkedIn, and I think that's very important. But I also want to bring up the fact that this career search really should begin in college. And so for those parents who have college students, give us some tips on what they may do to position themselves already into a career and already have one when they actually get that degree.
That's a great question. And I will tell you, the process and the work starts now. It starts even in your, sophomore semester or sophomore spring. It's not too late if you're graduating in September. But if you're listening and you're a parent of a college student, no matter where they are in their journey, have them first take advantage of the College and Career Placement Center or the Career Placement Center on their college campus. I happen to sit on the board of my alma mater, and what our studies show is that some students are postponing their career search until they graduate, or waiting until after they graduate. This is a perfect time, though, earlier in your college career to really explore. Look for internship opportunities, look for summer job opportunities, or even volunteer experiences that are going to give you a leg up ultimately in your search. So I would encourage them to take advantage of the career services offices that are in their colleges if they have them. The second thing is to start to really think intentionally about your network. You know more people who can help you and are inclined to help you than you think. A lot of times we have this false notion that, I'm going to do it on my own, or I don't need any help, or even this false notion that just searching online for a job is job searching. That's not job searching. That's resume planting. That's not job
searching. Say it again with feeling.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to knock on the table. That's not job searching. That is one element of job searching and just discovering the opportunities that are out there. But I have to say, for the employers that are receiving a lot of resumes, you're just in the pile. So if you can send the resume and you can apply and then network through LinkedIn or other means, and you know people and your parents know people to say, hey, I just applied for a job at Leilani Brown LLC. Do you know anybody there? Do you think that you can get a little attention to my application? Those two things in tandem do work. And we don't often ask for help, but we should ask for help. We should make it plain. I am looking for my first career opportunity. Can you help me? What are you looking to do? I'm willing to do any number of things, but I'm really good at marketing and social media, and I have an interest in working with children. Something like that. Be very direct, very clear, so that when I hear that information, I can take it to my network and say, I know a young person that is looking for an opportunity.
That's great advice. It's interesting. I had a friend reach out to me for a young person who graduated from the University of Michigan, which I'm from Michigan. I didn't attend Michigan, but I know they're one of the most prominent in Michigan. And the first question I asked him was, are you leveraging the alumni network? And I'm almost certain that they have a career institute, if you will, because that's the whole point of investing those dollars in a university of that sort. And so I'm so glad that you mentioned that. But I think in addition to that, Leilani, what I would say for both of my children was they worked their entire college career. And I felt like that was important for them to get a sense of responsibility. Certainly, I wasn't giving them spending money. If they were going to have any, they had to be resourceful. And it's so interesting that after my son finished his degree, his sister came in right after him. And the first thing he said to me, does she have a job yet? If
I had to do it, I want her to do it.
But here's the thing is, because they had worked their entire college career, if you will, when they came out, they had some very solid experience to put on that resume. And I do think in addition to that, Leilani, would you say that it is important for students to actually have internships while they're in college so that they can have a leg up once they actually get that college degree?
It's helpful to have the internship or the summer job for so many reasons, not the least of which is exposure. Understanding the workplace is very different than a campus. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book. And also for relationship building. And if you have an internship, you want to keep in touch with the colleagues that you had over the summer and drop them a line every now and then. And that's not a bad idea. But if you haven't had the opportunity to have an internship, and we're really talking about an in-practice, in-industry internship, and you had to have a simple summer job. I had summer jobs. I never called them internships, but I had summer jobs. It's not lost. There are so many employers that are actually hiring right now and looking for people to come in. There's no expectation that based on your internship, you know everything about the business. So I would say still try to apply and use the whole of your experiences, apply for those first jobs. You don't have to have an internship as a precursor to employment right out of college. I would also say this, prior to owning my own consultancy, I worked as an executive in corporate America for 30 years. And I would often get a resume on my desk or an inquiry to say, hey, do you have any opportunities? Do you have any internships or summer jobs or employment opportunities for this young person? And they were often from my peers. They were from higher up in the organization. They were even from assistants. And invariably, I would at least have an informational conversation with the person, and they might find their way somewhere in the organization. That, ladies and gentlemen, is networking. I don't care if your mother is the chairman of the board, president of the company, or an administrative assistant or executive assistant in the organization. She's in that workplace and she is in a position to offer your information, the proud, mother or parent of this young person, and that might yield a result. So your mother, your auntie, your uncle, anybody in your family or in your network, your neighbors, they all want to see you succeed. So make it plain that you're looking for your first opportunity so that they can make the introduction for you.
Absolutely. And you said something really interesting that I don't want the audience to miss. And by the way, if you're watching this, I want to make sure if you have a graduate that you make sure you have them watch this Get Wealthy segment as well. We'll all get wealthy segments because all of them are relevant no matter what your age. But you said something really interesting. And this is what I have found. Young folks will say something like, well, I just want an opportunity. And in encouraging and mentoring this young man recently, I told him, let's really talk about strategically, what are the things that you are good at and what experience do you already have that you could parlay into an opportunity? And in his case, he had been a star rugby player, got injured, and then didn't know where to go from there. So then he started coaching, and I thought, wow, that's great. That's going to be a great segue. You have leadership ability, and that's what you want to convey to that potential employer, and give them some insight in how you show leadership by coaching on the team. And so my point really is, do you feel like going back to the story, right, that you need to tell, that even at this stage, young folks who are in college, that they really need to begin to experience some things so that they can have a specific idea of the opportunity that they're seeking?
Yes, I do. I think they need to think about, though, not dismiss the experiences, certainly not of the last 2 years, as less than positive or challenging, but to reposition them and tell a different type of story, Deborah. So, for example, most of the graduates of the last 2 years had to switch out of an in-person classroom experience automatically into a virtual classroom experience. Why not tell the story of your resilience, your agility, and your ability to work independently and also connect in a remote environment? Why not tell that story to potential employers in a way that demonstrates your ability to do the same for them? Those are all
that's we're
looking for.
No, go right ahead.
Those are
that's
we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way of framing it, Leilani. And then finally, just in terms of strategy, what are some of the mistakes to avoid? I think we want to give it. And you mentioned so many of them in your book.
There are a lot. I would tell you that the number one thing I would want our young people not to do is to think that the antics that we are seeing on social media, like zooming in from your bed in a bonnet, like having a sports...
You're kidding me.
Yes, these are the things that we're seeing on TikTok and Instagram, and we laugh at them. And, these viral videos are not reality. They're not reality. So I would just, there are so many things that I would talk about off book, and I'll talk about them now. Treat every day like the first day, if you can. So I remember growing up, first day of school, first day of work. I'm so excited. You got your new school clothes. Everything is ironed and your shoes are by the front door. Bag is packed. You're ready to go. Maybe a weekend, you're still doing the same thing. There's a level of excitement, haircut maybe is not as fresh, but you're still ready to go. A month in, you're sort of like, I got this. And then maybe 2 months in, you're not approaching it with the same energy and enthusiasm and preparation that you would. You might iron the front of the shirt, you might go in a little late, you're not quite ready, you forget your computer at home, etc. And so we start to become a bit more casual. So one of the things that I would say is have the staying power and try to treat every day. And every day is not going to be great, but try to treat every day like the first day and approach it with a sense of professionalism and respect for yourself, and go into it with a level of enthusiasm. Going back to the the first thing that you asked me around perception is reality. And so be aware of how you're being perceived. There are ways, most of our communication is nonverbal. I talk a lot with my hands, but also showing up, turning on the camera if you're working remotely, showing up in person prepared and ready and engaged. That says to your employer, to your colleagues, I'm engaged, I'm ready, I'm here, and I want to be here. And that is really, really important, as opposed to those people making a decision about you that may or may not be true. The other thing I would suggest is that we're always communicating and communicating well. And just because your boss is not talking to you or giving you feedback doesn't mean that everything is going well. It may not be. People are just not good at giving feedback. So communicate, share what you're doing, share what you're working on, and ask for feedback. How's it going? How am I doing? Anything I can do a little bit differently? And then the fourth, and probably most importantly, is developing positive relationships. And I can't stress that enough, because people do business with people they like. They also advocate for them. They give them the benefit of the doubt when they mess up, and you will mess up. So develop positive working relationships with your colleagues. They don't have to be your best friends, but you want them to recall you and think of you fondly now and in the future. And that's a lot. Sorry, Deb.
No, that's a lot, but I want them to know that we're going to make sure that they know exactly where to purchase your book, From Campus to Career. And when we come back, what's most important in our model, our framework for success is execution. So when we come back, we're going to be talking to Leilani about how you can actually take what you're learning today and put it into practice. So don't go anywhere, folks. When we come back, it's all about execution.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years. We got iPhone 13s too. Switched 2 minutes ago, literally right before this.
iPhone 13 on us on any unlimited plan for every customer, with plans starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built-in.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Deborah Owens, host of Get Wealthy, and we're having a conversation about how college graduates can navigate and start a successful career in what are some really uncertain times. We've talked about mindset, the mindset of our graduates and our parents. We talked a little bit about strategy, but it means absolutely nothing unless you apply what you're learning on this program today. And so that's exactly where we're going to start with execution now, Leilani. Thank you so much for this conversation, because I want to talk to them about execution. And so here's what I want to ask you. I've landed my first interview. What do I do?
First things first, for the interview, you want to research and you want to learn everything that you can about the company, the industry, and maybe even the person that is interviewing you without stalking them. But you really want to be immersive in the company, what they do, how they are profitable, what the drivers of profit are, what the drivers of loss are, so that you can be and understand your own unique individual role. So that's the first thing I would advise a young person to do.
And then the second thing I want to ask you about, so I know that, I've watched both of my children as they've pursued different opportunities. And oftentimes what employers do is they have a couple of preliminary interviews for fit, right? Kind of product market fit, but for you, person market fit. And so, in those interviews, how should I prepare for that preliminary interview, which typically it used to be on the phone, now it's virtual?
So that's a great question. They will ask you in one way or another, or maybe just like this. So tell me about yourself. That is the most often interview question. It's an awful question, but it's always used the same. It's always delivered. And the answer is your elevator speech. There are three components to the elevator speech: who you are, what you do, and what value you bring to the world. And that's helpful to everybody, whether you're running a business, you're pitching your business, you're pitching yourself, a young graduate, or a person who's more mature and experienced. So elevator speech is really, really important. The other thing that I would say to do is maybe even write down a few talking points. Really study the job description and then write down a few talking points about why you are the best qualified or uniquely qualified for that role. The third thing that I would suggest that you do, especially even if you are in a hybrid environment, is dress for success. And that means including your background environment, removing any and all distractions, and maybe testing your technology. It might sound like a little thing, but being able to go through your interview without any technological disruptions, or the dog barking, or the laundry in the corner, can go a long way.
It's interesting that you said that, and I'm glad you touched on that, Leilani, because one of the other things I wanted to talk about was surroundings. And as schools went virtual, it really put people at a disadvantage, from not wanting to show their socioeconomic statement, their socioeconomic condition. Maybe you don't have this fabulous home that you see people have in their backgrounds many times. What is appropriate in order to make sure that your surroundings virtual are putting you in the best light? Should you use some of those shaded backgrounds that they allow you to do, or should you use? Sometimes I think like the backgrounds make you look like a floating ghost. Sometimes when you're using those virtual screen backgrounds. So what would you advise?
I love the faux backgrounds. I love and sometimes they can be a really good and interesting conversation starter. You could use a faux background that has your school logo or something that's applicable to that employer or related. You can find a blank wall. If you can find a blank or bare or minimalist wall, I think that is also great. Or doing the blurred background, which provides some insight. You do have to turn your camera on. But I think that you bring a good point up that everybody doesn't want to share their personal circumstances and surroundings, and so I think all of those three things are fine. A blank white wall or any color wall, quite frankly, would suffice. But also a faux background is also a good option.
And then finally, I want to touch on this because I think that oftentimes employers always ask this question, and it's, tell me about something that you failed at or that you didn't do well. What is an employer what kind of response if they're looking? What kind of insight are they trying to gain?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, first of all, we've all failed at something. So tell the story of a failure. But they're looking to assess the degree to which you can take responsibility for the failure if you caused it, or your contribution to the failure, and what did you learn and how did you move forward? So it's really important to identify and say, there's this one time I really messed up this project, or I dropped the ball, or I failed to think about X, Y, and Z, and as a result, this did not go as well. And what I learned from that, very quickly you move, what I learned from that was proper planning and giving myself more time so that it didn't occur in the future. And then when we did our next project, it went much more smoothly.
Yeah, sort of what you learn from that. And the only reason I wanted to mention that is because I often feel like people, well, I don't want to tell them I failed at anything. And that's the worst thing you could possibly do, because they're trying to look at how you respond to misfortune, right? We know that eventually something is going to happen. How do you respond to it? Man, this has been fabulous. This went I think you gave even more insight than I had hoped. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how to analyze, optimize, and maximize all the information that you've given to us today.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Are the only bins that will accommodate larger rollerboards.
They put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat him, you eat 10.
Oh my God.
I hope you've been enjoying this conversation with Leilani Brown, author of From Campus to Career. She's helping your graduate get a start on the right foot. And now, Leilani, it's our Analyze, Optimize, Maximize segment, where we want to kind of compress and condense everything that we covered today. So let's talk about analyze. What should graduates do to focus their attention on? What can make the greatest impact right now for them?
That's such a complex question. What should they focus on and analyze? What are their goals, and what are the multiple paths to arrive there? And I would say, just to take a step back, making sure that they're your goals. They're not your friends' goals or what you think are served up as everyone else's aspirations for you, or comparing yourself. Make sure that they're your goals. Understand. And I think that's really important, and especially in this age. Again, I keep going back to social media, and I don't mean to beat up on it so much, but we are in a place where it's so tempting to compare everything to everyone else. What we have, the job we have, where we're going, to everyone else. But I really encourage young graduates to run their own race. So do some self-examination, determine what's important to you, and pursue that path, your path. Don't look at everybody else.
No, you're absolutely right. I really believe comparison kills, right? Like it really takes you, it takes you away from where you should be focusing your attention. And those are your gifts, your skills, your talents, and how you can serve. And the next thing I have for you, though, is optimize. How can I optimize my resources? Sometimes graduates are coming out. Maybe they do have student loan debt, that maybe that's something that's looming. Maybe they don't have a lot of resources. How can they optimize their resources in their career hunt?
Absolutely. I mean, you can have a simple work uniform. And this is going to sound really, really simple, but it's, I think, practical. You don't have to be the flyest kid on the block, to go to work. You can have the simple neat, clean apparel to go to work. You don't have to be fly and fashionable. You're not trying to pretend to be anything other than what you are. I would really minimize debt at this point and not take on debt so that you can have a running start to your career as opposed to a hobbled start. If you're coming out with student loans, keep pace with them so that you can preserve and maintain excellent credit. Don't take on unnecessary credit card debt at this point, trying to keep up with the Joneses or the Jacksons or the Lewises or whatever.
Excellent. And then finally, maximize how can they, like, you know, like you only have so much. And so how do you come to that, find that strategy, if you will, and maximizing that can be the thing that gives you the momentum you need?
I think focus gives you maximizing opportunity, right? So we have, I would say, fairly unlimited, not totally unlimited, but fairly unlimited potential, but we don't have unlimited capacity. And so focusing on what's most important to you, your individual goals, your individual pursuits, and not being distracted by the other things can go a long way. That's when you can maximize. You know, if you had 5 pennies on a desk and you could only make 5 movements, you can either move 1 penny forward 5 movements, or you can move each of them one movement. What are you going to do? And so by focusing, you can really, really achieve a lot as opposed to making your impact diffuse. That's how I would maximize.
Leilani Brown, thank you so much for sharing all of your tips from your new book, From Campus to Career.
Thank you so much for having me, Deb. It's always good to be in conversation with you.
Absolutely. Folks, when we come back, the 3 takeaways for your graduates from today's show.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. To show the love.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. It was all about helping your graduate get wealthy. So here are the 3 takeaways from today's show. The first is mentorship is key. All throughout the program, you heard Leilani share what you needed to do, what graduates need to do to build relationships. Second, the fortune is in the follow-up. Once you make those connections, you've got to make sure that you stay in touch with people. And lastly, there is no I in team. Make sure that when you're presenting yourself, that potential employer feels that you're going to be a great member of the team. That's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for coming on. Get wealthy. Don't forget to watch all of our episodes online if you missed anything. I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and thank you for joining us right here only on Black Star Network.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches! Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice
to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?